Support for Audacious with Kyone Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf bringing you the best bad episode ever. Not so bad it's bad, we mean so bad it's freaking awesome. We've got 3 flavors of bad for you. First, bad news outsourced. A man makes a living delivering the sour messages people are too afraid or too polite to say themselves. Then, bad movies. The creators of the Razzies have been handing out awards for follies in the film industry for 45 years. And finally, bad dates. A newly divorced woman dives back into the dating pool and documents the duds. Plus, a few Audacious listeners tell us about their disastrous dates. But first, the big business of bad news. There's this guy on Long Island named Jon, and he goes live on social media twice a week to broadcast his show, Jon Breaks Bad News. Here's how it works. People fill out a form online with a message they'd like him to deliver. Anything from, you suck at softball, to your loan fell through, to please stop wearing the fishing vest to team meetings. Sometimes the message is funny. Other times, it can be deadly serious. And Jon makes the call for him, on air, for tips. So after making thousands of calls over the past 5 years, what kind of themes emerge?
The lighter ones are like, you're bad at golf, you're bad at fishing, which I still don't understand the bad at fishing thing. How can you be bad at fishing? It's putting a string in a water and hopefully something bites it. But like, yeah, it's being bad at stuff, being bad at video games. You've lost the game is a big one.
What is that?
So it was this game that I remember playing in high school and like middle school where like if you think about the game, and if I explain this to you, you're now part of the game. So I have to give you a chance. Do you want me to explain it to you, or do you want to not know about the game?
I want to know about the game.
Okay. So if you think about the game, you've lost the game. And then if you think about the game and you lose the game, you have to announce that you've lost the game to anyone around you. And if they've lost the game too, they have to announce to other people that they've lost the game. And eventually everybody loses the game.
Hello.
Hi, Katie. This is Jon from Jon Breaks Bad News. I have some bad news from Zach for you.
Oh my God. Go on.
You just lost the game.
Oh.
What are some heavier ones?
I know that your wife has been cheating on you. The heaviest one that I've gotten, and I've gotten a small handful of these, is I have cancer. And I don't know how to tell my family member or friends that I have. Other ones that I've gotten are like, you're behind on child support.
There's also phone calls where you're telling someone what someone thinks of them. Like you're a narcissist, you're a jerk, you think you're better than everybody else, you're a terrible boss. Like they really unload. Usually these calls aren't just one insult. It's like a bevy of them. Like they're just getting it off their chest via you.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. That was not my, when I envisioned this, that was not my original use case for my services, but it's become like, I want to tell people what I think about them, and I want you to be the one that does it because I don't want to do it myself. And at first I felt funny about it because I felt like it was just insulting people. And if it is just like just blatant insults, like you're a big tubby idiot, I won't do it. But if it is something like, I think you're a narcissist and I think that you need help, I'll do that one. And people don't like hearing about themselves. I don't like hearing about myself. Like, I don't want to know what you really think about me. Just be nice to me.
Right. Let's play the game.
Yeah.
You believe the story I sell you. I'll believe the story you sell me, and everyone will get along.
Exactly.
You mentioned ones you won't do. What other requests have come up that you refuse to do?
Stuff that seems illegal.
Like what?
I've had people in the front of their requests be like, this person has a restraining order against me and I can't get in contact with them, but I want to tell them that they were really mean to me. Like, and I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do with this. I can't call them and be on your behalf. So anything that was like that, I don't do. There are some that I do, and I'm like, I don't know if that was right.
Only afterwards you're like, I feel something funny in my tummy.
Yeah, I feel like that was a weird thing for me to say to somebody.
Before a phone call that's more lighthearted, maybe your heart doesn't race. Maybe you're happy to do it, but it's like it's not taxing you in any way.
Yeah.
But when the call is serious, like the ones we talked about before, what do you do for yourself to steady yourself, to mentally prepare? Do you just kind of dive into the deep end? What's going on with you as that phone is ringing?
I drink.
What do you drink?
PBR. If anybody from PBR is out there listening to this right now and you want to sponsor me, please.
Well, maybe they're waiting on you. Anyway, so you drink PBR, and then what do you do?
Usually I disassociate a bit and then I just start reading. Like, I know that I'm going to get yelled at. I don't love getting yelled at, but I also know that that's what everybody wants, is for me to get yelled at. So I shut down the part of my brain that doesn't want to be yelled at, and I try to get yelled at.
You actually defend yourself beautifully, because it all comes down to the fact that you're the messenger. Do you yell at the mail delivery person? No, they're just doing their job. And sometimes people get that, and sometimes that's not the answer people want.
Yeah. Actually, one of the more recent calls, there was a gentleman named Bruce. Him and his daughter or wife, they're both yelling at me over the phone. And he's contacted me since that call. And he was like, I wish I knew what you were before that call, because I would have acted totally differently. And I was like, yeah, that's the point, man. Like, if this ends up becoming everybody on the planet knows who I am, it's not going to be as fun as it is right now. The whole point is to have you be told something and your raw reaction of how you feel in that moment, and not you knowing that you're being recorded, or not you. Like, it's supposed to be human reactions.
And now that you've got millions of followers, you do often have people who pick up the phone and you say, hey, this is Jon from Jon Breaks Bad News.
Some bad news from Dominic for you. He wants to know where his money is. He lent you money to get your CDL over a year and a half ago. And even though you made over $70,000 since then, you still haven't given him his money. So where's his money?
It's really Jon Breaks Bad News.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
People recognize you, and I wonder how that is for you, because to your point, you want a raw human reaction, but when they know who you are, there's something that kind of evaporates.
Yeah. I mean, like, I melt a little bit. It takes me back to like realizing what I'm doing and like the opportunity that I've been given, which is this stupid show that people watch and pay me for. I mean, obviously it feels good. It feels good to have something that you do that people connect with.
At the end of almost every call, you say, I love you.
Yes. That's a prank phone call, like classic, the I love you. That's like, my thinking is like, I'll soften the blow a little bit. And for specifically men, I like the experiment of trying to get them to say it back. It's usually like old dudes that I want, that I know that they're not going to. But if I can get them to, and 9 times out of 10, I get them to say it back. That's my little twist on that.
It is such a sweet twist. And there's also, recently there was someone named Michelle. And you said, I love you. And she got mad. She's like, I'm in a relationship. Oh, really?
Who the hell tells somebody that you have no clue that you love them?
I have an open heart.
Really? I have a problem with that because I'm in a relationship.
Oh, I'm sorry, bud.
Oh, really? Oh, that's all you got to say?
No, I said sorry, bud.
That call, I have it pinned. That's actually from a few years ago. And that was one of my favorite calls. Me and my wife, Alyssa, we watched that call at least 2 times a week, and we laugh our off.
I wonder, after all these years and all these thousands of phone calls, what you've learned about humanity.
Everybody's scared. They're scared to be honest. And if you give people the opportunity to be honest, they will tell you what they think. But most people don't like people being honest either. Everybody wants to be honest, but everybody wants to be lied to. And I think that's sad. I think if everybody was a little bit more open to criticism or open to other people's thoughts, and I have the same issue too when, like, talking to friends and they have something that they want to get off their chest, like that maybe I've done that's annoyed them. Nobody wants to hear that, but you should want to hear that. Because hearing that will allow you to become a better person. And I think everybody wants to be a better person, but they don't want to do the work, and they don't want to hear the criticism that will allow them to be better people. Or they know it already, and they're having a hard time. I have a hard time casting aspersions and saying that, like, oh, this person's just bad. Like, even like the ones with the narcissists and stuff like that. I'm using air quotes. You can't tell somebody that they're a narcissist. You don't know. Most people don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. I'm an idiot.
And if you tell someone they're a narcissist, it's not like they're going to be like, oh, really? I never. Well, let me do something about this.
I'm going to change everything about myself.
I'm going to change my entire structure of self.
Yeah.
Thanks, bud.
The other thing that I've learned about people is that they can be a lot nicer than you think. A lot of people are very nice to me. I get messages from people that are like, I love you. I think that what you're doing is great, and offering some kind words. Among other things, those are the main things that I've learned about people doing this.
What have you learned about yourself doing this?
That I'm more affected by things than I once thought that I was affected by things. Like calling somebody and telling them that their friend is dying. Years ago, I would have thought, like, I can do that. That's easy. And it's not easy. Every doctor out there that has to do that, I commend, because it's a tough thing to do. It's hard.
How has delivering bad news to strangers affected or changed how you think about honesty?
If people were more honest, I'd be out of a job. So keep lying. I think most people don't want to hurt other people. So, they don't go around being brutally honest to everybody. And sometimes it's hard if you're close to that person to be the one to tell them. So if you have this opportunity to hire a moron on the internet to call them and tell them, then I guess use it. I probably would have when I was younger. Now honesty has become like, I have a hard time holding it back.
There are definitely people listening to our conversation who will come to a point in their life where they have to give really bad news, serious bad news, to someone that they love and care about. I wonder what advice you have to steady their mindset or focus them or prepare them. Anything that maybe you wish you had known as you started going into the more serious part of your work?
Take a deep breath, and then, like a Band-Aid, say it. Just get it out. Say what you need to say, because they need to hear it. It's medicine. Not everybody likes the taste of medicine, but they need to hear it. Do it as fast as possible and deal with the repercussions as they come. They're going to yell. They're going to curse. They're going to say not nice things about you. They may tell you some bad news right in return. You got to be open to it. You got to let them have their feelings, because it's not fair to drop a load on somebody and then walk away. So you got to be there. Then take the time for yourself. Go cook yourself a nice meal. Do something that'll bring you back up, because it is hard. It's a hard thing to do. Tell somebody the truth.
Well, Jon Breaks Bad News. Thank you so much for talking with me, and I love you.
I love you too.
When we get back to our bad show, what are the Razzies all about?
I think it's just such a simple idea. The Oscars turned on its head.
We all make mistakes, and when you own up to it, it just makes you look good.
Plus, stay for dates so bad, they call for an unconventional exit strategy.
I said, would you excuse me for a minute? And I ran down to the train. Now, it happened that there was a train leaving, not to where I live, but close enough. So I jumped right on it and went.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me. I'm Kyone Wolf, and this is the best bad episode of Audacious ever. Bad news, bad films, and bad dates. The kind of bad that, in many ways, tells the truth. In a little bit, we'll trade disaster stories from the trenches of modern dating. But right now, the award for worst and somehow best award show goes to the Razzies. Since 1981, co-founders John J.B. Wilson and Mo Murphy have led the Golden Raspberry Awards to honor the most gloriously oopsed movies of the year. Think of it like the anti-Academy Awards, the best of the worst. They've had legends take offense and celebrities show up to accept awards with humility, humor even. So what makes a film or performance so bad that it earns a Razzie? And what's the most graceful way to react when the whole world agrees that your movie sucks? And how'd they come up with that name?
It's from the term to blow a raspberry or to razz somebody. And I noticed, Emmy, Tony, Grammy, a great many of the awards end with a hard E. And I was trying to come up with something. I thought Golden Raspberry was clear, but it was too long. And I actually, when I first registered for the trademark, they said, well, couldn't it just be Golden Blueberry? And I'm like, no. And I actually copied and pasted the Merriam-Webster definition of Raz and Raspberry into the application, and they approved it.
I'd like to hear about the reaction from Hollywood on the whole as the years have gone by to the Razzies. I mean, from what we've seen in headlines and news stories, there are some actors, producers, directors who get it and they love it and they soak it up. And some people take offense to it. Some people roll their eyes to it. I would love to hear over the years how Hollywood on the whole has reacted to the Razzies.
The people who do get it make themselves look really good. Our motto is we bring humanity to celebrity. We all make mistakes. And it just makes, and when you own up to it, it just makes you look good, including us. So the people who've stepped up to own it, it's done them well. It's made them more relatable to the audience.
Generically, though, I was going to ask, can I say the word fart on NPR?
You may.
We are generally greeted by the industry in the same way that a loud fart in church would be responded to. For the most part, we are not, oh, thank you for saying that. It is alarming given how many of the people in the industry make their living off their sense of humor. When it comes to this, they don't often have one. That's why, like, Halle Berry was brilliant.
Will you talk about that story with Halle Berry for people who don't know it?
What happened was an Irish newspaper where they make things up. There really is fake news in Ireland. Said she was going to come out of her limo on our red carpet and sashay into the auditorium and take her award. And I got hold of her, I believe it was her manager. And I said, if this is true, we're delighted. If it's not, I'm not going to embarrass your client. That's not our point. And I think she was so amazed that somebody would actually honor whatever her client's wishes were. We didn't arrange it till the very last moment. But when she was announced as the winner for Catwoman, and she came out on the stage with her Oscar in one hand, and the whole audience just went, wow, what a great lookalike. Where did you find her? And we're like, No, this is actually Ms. Berry, which that's another funny coincidence that her last name is the same as our award. But she was up there for 8 or 9 minutes just riffing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I never in my life thought I would be up here winning a Razzie.
It is the textbook example of how to best respond to this. She was funny, she was scatological, she was self-deprecating, and charming as all get out.
What are some examples of celebrities who openly did not take this so well?
Sylvester Stallone. He won our first Worst Actor of the Decade award. And we got a voicemail. Now, for legal reasons, we have to say we can't prove this was actually Mr. Stallone, but it sounded like him. And his thing was, my movies make money. How come you pick on me? What's that about? And so when he won the award, we said, Mr. Stallone couldn't be here in person, but he left us a voicemail. And the audience just loved it. They thought it was so funny.
As much as a great movie has an ineffable quality to it that, like, you can look at the stats, you can look at the stars, you can look at every aspect of it and try to figure out why this movie is so glorious, but there's something about it you can't put your finger on. Likewise, what is that thing for a terrible movie that you've seen throughout the years? What is that ineffable thing, if you can F it?
If you can discern what motivated them to make this, and if that the word that comes to mind is money, that can occasionally lead to, like, I actually liked the first Wicked film. I enjoyed it, but it was, made like $1 billion. But if that's their only motive, if it's a sequel only because the first one made money, but there's no reason to continue with these characters, that's an indicator. When somebody came up with the idea of putting Dolly Parton and Sylvester Stallone in a country and western musical, 9 out of 10 people could have said, that's not going to work. He can't sing. And at that time, she was fresh to the movie business. She's adorable, but she's not really an actress. And it's just, why? If you're putting pieces together that don't fit, you're not going to end up with a picture anyone wants to see.
And one thing that we've noticed over the years is when they have a bunch of names on a screenplay, that's, a big indicator that it might not be a good movie. And if you have one screenwriter and they've nurtured it with the industry people that they're working with, it tends to be a better movie.
Actors are known to be, and I don't want to make too much of a blanket statement, but they're in touch with their emotions, and this is a difficult job, and it's hard to get this job, and they work so hard, and they could get spit out by this machine at any time, and it's just a crazy industry. And so I imagine when they find out that they've won a Razzie, they may be at a crossroads emotionally in terms of how to accept it. On the one hand, what an insult. How dare you? And on the other hand, yeah, this is kind of hilarious. Yeah, no, I see it. And I guess if you could sit down with an actor who's gotten this prestigious award and they're at this crossroads and they haven't landed how to hold it, how would you coach them about psychologically how to fit this into their whole life?
I personally liked Sandra Bullock's reaction. She won the Razzie on a Saturday night, and then as she walked up the red carpet at the Oscars the very next night and won, she is the only person to win the two in the same weekend. Her reaction was, I will put both awards on display. The Razzie, however, will be on a much lower shelf.
And also, in regards to coaching, listen, I have a lot of empathy for actors, and especially with talented, great actors. It's difficult. It's like, you get to, especially women, you get to a certain age and the roles might not be there. And it's like, well, wait a minute, I've got to survive. So I don't put blame on actors unless they're at a point in their career where they really can make choices. I put more of the blame on executives and people who put the whole thing together. But In regards to people who are extremely talented and have won all the other awards and then win our awards. Okay, JB, who's the composer?
Oh, Alan Menken.
Yeah, he's also a perfect example of somebody who took it so graciously. By the way, some people respond, especially nowadays, they'll respond with their own video. And he put the Razzie in with all of his other awards, which were everything. He's won an Oscar, he's won a Grammy, he's won.
We keep hoping that the phrase EGORT, where the R for Razzie is included, will somehow catch on. And there are people who have, Alan Menken has won, Liza Minnelli is another one who's won all 5 of those.
That's a world I want to live in, by the way, the EGORT world.
Well, but yeah, and that's the point. It's, we get it. I mean, it's, okay. Another example is Dakota Johnson, who just responded on Amy Poehler's podcast. She mentioned that Sandra Bullock had contacted her and said, hey, we're in the same club, the Razzie Club. And I mean, that's the way it should be taken. It's like, yeah.
Well, I've asked everything I planned on, but I also know we could talk for 5 hours. Did I miss anything? Was there a direction you hoped we would go in or a question you hoped I would ask and I didn't? Now you're questioning my abilities as an interviewer, and I should probably just stop the show altogether. Anything else?
I wanted to mention, I love doing a raspberry because it's such a funny sound. It is the name of the award. It is what inspired it. You may want to back off from your headphones or turn them down, but here, for your edification, is a raspberry.
I also wanted to mention we are both fans of NPR.
Oh, yeah.
And if we could give a Razzie to the people who are defunding some of our better media outlets, we would do it.
I would argue bothering to give a Razzie to the government is kind of redundant these days.
Well, Mo Murphy and John Wilson, thank you so much for Razzieing me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Oh, by the way, if there's ever a Razzie for public radio, I kind of want it. After the break, Rachel Lithgow opens the vault on her year of really bad dates.
I was clearly the first woman he'd kissed since 8th grade. Or I was practiced for a CPR class that he was about to take with a fireman dummy. I don't know.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is the baddest episode of Audacious. Stay tuned. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf, and our final segment of the best bad show ever is all about bad dates. And if there are kids around right now, know that this one is slightly adult-oriented. Now, all of my worst dates never actually featured another person. I've been ghosted on a first date 3 times. Once on my favorite holiday, New Year's Eve. That sucked. Confetti and tears in my drink. The next time I was ghosted, I was in Puerto Rico, and I had spent a small fortune on my outfit, only to show it off to the bartender, and a very large glass of whiskey. And the third time I was stood up, I ordered a Prosecco to celebrate that for once I wasn't taking it personally. And that turned out to be the last alcoholic drink I ever had. It's kind of cool when something good comes from something bad, right? Rachel Lithgow would agree. When you go on bad dates, you learn a lot about yourself. And if you go on enough bad dates, you fill a book with them. Rachel's the author of My Year of Really Bad Dates, a memoir that starts with a divorce and explodes into a parade of you've got to be kidding me encounters, conspiracy theorists, unsolicited, shall we say, selfies, and one backdoor exit in a sprint through Grand Central. But before we get to Rachel's story, Audacious listeners have had a few bad dates too.
When I was 16 years old, I was dual enrolled in a community college in Central Florida where I met Adam. He asked me out on a date and picked me up in his car to take me to the movie theater, which was in a strip mall that also contained a Target. And you know how outside of Targets there are always these giant red metal balls that divide the store from the parking lot? Well, Adam decided to show off by jumping up on top of one of those balls and then trying to leap from one to another. He fell, and he fell hard. I remember hearing a popping sound of his ankle breaking as he hit the ground, and he refused any help. He slowly hobbled back to his car in the parking lot and then proceeded to try to teach me how to drive his manual transmission car while he sat in the passenger seat, crying and yelling with a broken ankle. There was no second date. But every time I pass by a Target and see those giant red metal balls, I think fondly of Adam.
We went out on a date, and it was a disaster from the beginning. I spilled my drink on myself. He was rude to me. There was even a little bit of light abuse at the end of the date. But the icing on the cake was when he dropped me off at my car and then sped away. This guy approached me and indicated that he had a gun in his pocket, and he told me to give him my keys. And I turned around straight-faced and I said, "Look, buddy, I've had a really bad date and I'm having a really bad day and I'm just not in the mood." And he said, "Okay." And he walked away and I got to keep my car.
1992, Edinburgh, Scotland. Took a date to the Bull and Bush pub on Lothian Road. First date, so tried to impress her with my vast music knowledge, including the Singles Going Steady compilation on a CD jukebox. Amazing stuff. Unfortunately, in a slightly drunken stupor, I selected track 1 instead of track 5. So imagine my face when partway through our date, Orgasm Addict blasts out across the pub. Oh well, cheaper to drink by yourself anyway.
That was Lindsay Ewing. You also heard from Maria Grove and Michelle Horsley. All right, here's Rachel reading from the prologue of her memoir, My Year of Really Bad Dates.
The Clintons had Jeffrey Epstein murdered. Did you know that? I read it because I did my research. You should do your research. A lot of women don't know how to do research. They think whatever some douche says on the news is real. But the truth is there are a lot of different versions of the truth. Most women don't get that. Anyway, Hunter Biden is going to be arrested this week because of his laptop. You wait and see. It's happening. Finally, people are waking up. And when they do, we can take our country back from the immigrants destroying us. Hey, how's that chicken? It's good here, right? He says all this to me without pause. The Pinot Noir goes down in one long, greedy, burning gulp. On our first date, he is wearing a zip-up sweatshirt and dirty jeans, as though he has just been working on a chain gang digging trenches. I am wearing dress pants and a lovely sweater with tasteful jewelry. My hair is blown out and looks great despite the drizzle, which can make me look like a cross between Barbra Streisand and Donna Summer in 1978. A well-worn ball cap on his head bears the local logo of a brewery, which he has mentioned he owns about 40 times during the meal.
So how did we get here? How did you get to the point where you wrote this book about all these dates you went on? How did we get here, Rachel Lithgow?
How did we get here, indeed? So I was in a 27-year relationship and married for 22 out of those 27 years to the man that really, I think in retrospect, was the love of my life in many ways, the father of my children. It didn't work out for many, many reasons that no one's interested in. But I was pretty shell-shocked at the end of the marriage. He was polyamorous. He was dating 30-year-olds. But as it happens, as the modern world turns, I finally met a man on Facebook dating. And I got a million hits, as every woman does. And one of the guys was Joe. And 9 months in, it was going really great. And I thought, hey, this is it. I could see hanging out with this guy for the foreseeable future. And he went away on a self-help retreat that he'd been flirting with and been involved with. And he came back 1 week later announcing that he was going to move to Phoenix and have a relationship with a blonde woman he met at the cult. And so that was that. And I thought that I would replace him in the exact manner that he replaced me. He got Rachel 2.0 in 30 seconds. I would find Joe 2.0 in 30 seconds. So I joined a bunch of dating sites. And I made a commitment that I would go on 2 dates a week and see how that went. And it didn't go great.
And then at some point you thought, I want to keep track of this. I want to write this down. I want to write a memoir about this. Talk about that moment.
I was in a depression, and I'm not a depressed person typically, but I was not good. And so I journaled it and I thought, I bet I could write a funny article for like a woman's magazine about this. So I sent 4,000 word little thing to my agent, and he said, no. This is way more than this. Like, give me 10,000 words and see how that goes. So I cobbled together 10,000 words and sent it to him. And he was like, damn, I can't stop laughing. Within 3 months, I had a first draft.
All right, so let's get to a few outstanding stories. I mean, they all must be extraordinary in order to make it into the book. But what are some, to give our listeners a taste of what you've experienced?
The first date I went on out of the gate was a very cute guy. I remember it very vividly because I was a nervous wreck. I was sweating like a farm animal. So we met at a local bar, and he came in and he was about the same height that he said he was, score. And he was cute. He looked like his profile picture, very rare, great. And we started to chat, and I learned that he was married to his middle school sweetheart, who was sleeping with his partner and best friend in their former bedroom. And he was in the basement, and he was on a date with me. And I said I didn't think we would be a good fit because he was sort of at the beginning of something and I was at the beginning of something else. And so he walked me to my car, which was very sweet. And then he rammed his tongue down my throat. I was clearly the first woman he'd kissed since 8th grade. Or I was practice for a CPR class that he was about to take with a fireman dummy. I don't know. And I also went on a date with someone who told me that he had the night before gone out on a date with a sex worker. He was not aware she was a sex worker. He met her online. He took her to a very fancy name-droppy, which he did, restaurant in New York City. And then she invited him back for coffee, and he actually used air quotes, and then came out in lingerie and demanded $300 and said that her pimp was waiting. And if he didn't pay her, so they negotiated, he paid her $200 and then he left. And that was sort of the end of the date.
You also experienced people who do all sorts of jobs, like a doctor.
He was on paper and for the first 20 minutes in person, A+. He was like 6'3". He was a surgeon. We had similar backgrounds. He was Israeli. We kind of had this weird mix. I call it Hebrish, which is Hebrew and English. So every other sentence is in every other language. And he was cute and the date was going great. And 30 minutes in, he looked at me and he said, tachlis, which means in Yiddish and Hebrew also, like brass tacks, baby. And I said, great. And he said, you're adorable and you're pretty smart. I'd love to have you as my fourth. And I said, fourth, what? It turns out that he was very into shibari and he wanted me to be his fourth.
And for those who don't know, shibari is?
It's a kind of a Japanese bondage that's supposed to enhance sort of pleasure and plays with control. And, it's actually quite beautiful.
Yeah, they use
ropes and lots of things. And he also explained to me that his last fourth, she didn't have a name, mind you. She was just fourth. They'd had an incident, which he explained he had accidentally dislocated her shoulder, tying her up. Now, I have had a dislocated shoulder. We don't need to go into it. Terrible accident. It involves wheelie shoes that I bought during COVID. And it ended with my shoulder dislocated and my ankle broken in 3 places. I have 9 pins and a plate in it now. but it was possibly the most excruciating pain I've ever experienced when they relocated the shoulder. And I had natural childbirth to two 10-pound babies. And I would do that again before I would get my shoulder relocated.
So that's no to Shibari.
No to Shibari when he'd already dislocated someone else. But he explained to me, don't worry, that won't happen again because I bought a real girl doll and I've been practicing. All I could picture was a respected surgeon wrestling a lifeless plastic girl into submission so he could practice Windsor knots. No. And thank God the date was at the Oyster Bar at Grand Central Station and they have a back way out.
And trains. You could just go far away.
That's what I did. I said, would you excuse me for a minute? And I ran down to the train. Now it happened that there was a train leaving, not to where I live, but close enough. So I jumped right on it and went.
There are also special ways people have maybe stayed in touch with you after dates, right? Maybe special loving messages that feel intimate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chapter in my book called, forgive the gentle listener, but pics. Now, I don't request pics. I have no judgment, bless anyone who does, but I had broken my rule, which is it's not really a rule. I'm not comfortable sleeping with someone on a first date. It's just not something I do, except when I do. And I did in this instance. And he, unbeknownst to me, had been a little bit nervous before the date, and he'd had quite a bit to drink. But it didn't quite go as he had planned. And I think he was a little bit embarrassed by that. And I assured him that these things happen and we're old now, right? I was 49 years old at the time. Now I'm 52. We're old. So things go the way they go. And don't worry, the next time it'll be great. And I had a really nice time and I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And the next night I was in the auditorium watching my kid perform in her school play. And I heard a ding and I opened up my phone and there was an enormous photograph of his penis, which I had opened surrounded by friends and strangers in the high school auditorium. And then there was just a penis parade after that. So it turns out he wasn't so casual after all. And when I asked him to not do that anymore, he ghosted me.
And scene.
And scene.
What would you say you learned from all of this? Is there one thing you learned from all of this?
That we place a lot of importance on things that in the end, I'm not sure are so important, right? Like, I loved my husband when I was married to him, and then it's over. It doesn't mean that that went away, and it's all the things like, don't you want to date? Aren't you sick of being alone? Like, there's just a lot of noise. And at the end of the day, being alone and learning how to do that well is a really good thing. And if I end up with a partner, that's fantastic. And I'm really excited about that. And if I don't, I'll still have a kick existence.
What at the end of another bad date would be going on in you? Because I'm sure, because no emotion ever comes alone. It always comes in at least pairs or triplicates. What sort of feelings would you have?
Anything bad that has ever happened to me is, of course, my fault because I am terrible. Anything good that happens to me is just sort of hapless luck, like a Mr. Magoo. I've stumbled into it. Lucky me. And, part of that is my parents were raised by Holocaust survivors, and they were raised to believe that, endurance is the thing. You got to be strong and you can't be sort of emotional or sappy. If I would cry, they would call me dramatic and sort of make fun of me because that's how their parents raised them. Because if you sit down in the dirt to cry, you get killed. That was their experience as young people.
And by repeatedly exposing yourself to these experiences, you hit rock bottom.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I'm not a crier. When I was working at the Center for Jewish History for the American Jewish Historical Society, I had a sign in my office that said, "You can't cry here." It's like, there's no crying in baseball. So I'm not a crier, but I suddenly started crying a lot. And it would leak out at these really inopportune times. I remember I had to pull into a parking lot at the local grocery store because Against All Odds by Phil Collins came on the radio. And I was like, I don't even like that song. I don't like the movie it came from. I thought it was a terrible film, dreadful film.
But that's the power of Phil Collins.
He is a magical being. There's no denying. But I had to pull into the parking lot because I was afraid I was going to crash the car. It got to the point where I couldn't stop it. And that is not great if you're trying to live a life and you burst out crying while you're at CVS buying shampoo and you hear the Muzak version of a U2 song. Like, no.
You know what song came in my head was All I Want Is You by U2? Yeah, that would devastate me, especially the Muzak version.
Oh, the Muzak version. It's just brutal. They're worse than the real ones.
So what did hitting rock bottom do for your dating life?
Ended it. And I had been talking to a guy. I hadn't even met him yet. I mean, he was just my type. Emotionally ruined, sarcastic, hilarious. We had the exact same taste in movies, books. You know, we would talk for hours every night. And then he vanished. And he had told me he was having, family issues. But like, that's kind of one of the things you say when you don't want to deal with something. But it turned out he wasn't lying. His father had actually been hospitalized and was really, really sick. So after a couple of months, he came back and we had one drink and we spent like 4 hours over one drink. But it didn't work out because we're incredibly different. But we still talk. And it's like, I can go out with a guy. I can have sex with a guy. I can be friends with a guy after I do both of those things and not fall to pieces and like open up a joint bank account with him. You know what I mean? Like all things are possible. And I think once that thought hit, it all got much better. And I'm seeing someone deeply unexpected. And I don't have an attachment to the outcome. And I have no plans to wear a promise ring. You know, I don't want him to pin his French club pin on me or anything like that. We're all good.
No varsity jacket?
No varsity jacket. Although,
I mean, that'd be kind of hot.
It would be kind of hot.
Well, Rachel Lithgow, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for having me.
Audacious is always produced with love, and just this one time with a little bit of bad, by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, and Robin Doyon Aitken at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, with help from Coco Cooley and Isaac Moss. If you like this episode, we have plenty of conversations that center around people who had bad ideas and followed them through, like when Toby Dorr was teaching incarcerated people how to train dogs. She fell in love with a man serving a life sentence. Desperate to be together, he came up with a plan.
I could hide in your van in a dog crate when you come in to do a dog adoption. And I said, well, that's the only idea you've had that would probably work.
And it did work, until it didn't, and made international headlines and was turned into a Lifetime movie. It's a good idea to find all of our harrowing, humbling, and utterly human conversations at ctpublic.org/audacious. And remember to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kyone Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Peace.
Really knew me at all.